You're listening to the first HarMINI episode of HarMINI, a video game music podcast. And I'm Matt.
And I'm Seth. I really like that. I like that a lot.
That was just complete. If that sounded awkward in the slightest, it's because it just started coming out of my mouth and I couldn't control it. And it happened to vaguely take the shape of a sentence that works. Today on the inaugural HarMINI, we're talking about Slayers X, Terminal Aftermath, Vengeance of the Slayer. This is, of course, this is a spin-off of Hypnospace Outlaw. The most recent full episode of HarMINI we just covered was Hypnospace Outlaw. Instead of covering Slayers X as a section of that episode, we decided to break it out into its own little mini thing. We'll talk a little bit about what a mini means when we get back from this intro song. But speaking of the intro song, we've got Break Me, and then in parentheses, Extreme Mix, composed, I believe, in the Hypnospace universe by Seepage, and then in the real world, it's some kind of combination of Jay Tholen and Queenjazz, I believe, is who is credited for like all the Seepage stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, like I said, it's going to be Break Me, Extreme Mix for your intro this episode, and we will be back.
I get brought us to the brink and back, awake up stronger, and it's been so long I've been building up. You can't break me down. Push myself and gain my ground, recognizable. When you make it out of there, you can make it out alive. Your hands touch me. You're an into my space. Your hands stop me. Clear best get out of my way. You can feel this pain. Force the rope away. I'm indestructible. Won't go away. You think you know me, maybe feeling like you own me. You're stuck in place and I'm long gone, far from here now. You think you face me, hell, and you amaze me. I'm indestructible, can't believe that you can break me. I'm more than you can take. Your hands touch me. You're an into my space. Your hands stop me. Clear best get out of my way. Your hand feel this pain. Force the rope away. I'm indestructible. Go away.
And that was Break Me, Extreme Mix by Seepage / Queenjazz. Again, this is coming from Slayers X, Terminal Aftermath, Vengeance of the Slayer. Seepage is an in-universe Linkin Park adjacent equivalent.
Very much so.
Yeah, in both Hypnospace and Slayers X. Like, not only the style of the music, but even like a lot of the imagery and stuff. It just reeks of Linkin Park. You know, I was not into Linkin Park during like the late 90s, early 2000s. I was never into them, period. I had friends that were. If I'm honest, I thought it was super lame. That's not me trying to like put myself on a pedestal. It's not that I don't have bad taste in general or didn't back then. I was never into like the edgy stuff. It just never did anything for me. Like, I also always thought Shadow was lame. Shadow the Hedgehog, I mean.
You're not into the angry white boy stuff at all, huh?
I had the same like suburban white childhood that a lot of other people around me had, but like their rebellion was that, and my rebellion,
Right.
I didn't really have a rebellion. I just liked stuff. I've always leaned more into like the cute side of things. Like even as a kid, I way more liked Kirby than like Sonic and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I like my stuff sugary sweet and not teenage angst, I guess.
Sure.
Anyway, yeah, when it comes to Break Me, I kind of just went over most of my notes. Like, I don't have much to say about this beyond that, much like all hypnospace music, it's just extremely well observed, less parody and more loving homage to the music that it's referencing. It's genuinely a good one of these, if this is the kind of stuff that you like.
Yeah, well, I mean, for one, I was definitely very angry white boy teenager. That was very much my vibe, and so I was way into Linkin Park back in the day. I remember when the Breaking the Habit music video came out. I still go back and watch that music video sometimes just to remember what it was like, which I guess is kind of, you know, evocative of the theming of this game anyways. But
can you summarize what is happening in the music video?
Well, it really is just like, it's like an anime, like, I actually don't know who directed the music video, but it's like an anime style, but it looks like a Satoshi Kon kind of anime as the music video. And I don't really remember too much of what's happening in it. I just remember thinking it was cool. Like,
Sure.
that was kind of like the vibe of like the music in general. Is like I don't even really relate to anything they're singing about. I just think it's cool. Like I just think it's like, you know, and one thing that's really funny that that Queenjazz, who actually is Jazz Mickle, by the way, who also composed for the Grapple Dog games. So they have a good understanding with the seepage music of like, there's this kind of like cross section that this kind of nu metal had of like, it's angry, but it's also like very like self-confident. It's all about like I'm coming back stronger and you can't break me down and stuff like this, and like it's always about something like that. It's always kind of just like propping themselves up, which is very Zane. It's very like, I'm very angry and insecure, but the like but the sort of facade that I put on is that actually I'm not angry and insecure. I'm strong, and I'm like just this impenetrable force, you know. And the music is all like about that. All of these songs are essentially about the same thing and have like nothing to really say. And yeah, we talked about this on the Hypnospace Outlaw kind of main episode, and for those who have not listened to that yet, y'all really should just go back and listen to that main episode before listening to this, because I think it'll provide some context for everything that we're going to talk about with this game. It is a Hypnospace Outlaw spinoff after all, and a lot of the stuff that we talked in that episode is, about how just, like you said, well observed and just genuine all of the music and basically everything about that game is, and all of those same values with both the music and with the game itself are still present in Slayer's X.
Right, just applied to a completely different genre of game.
Right,
like it that internet detective gameplay of the first one is completely gone, and this is just a pure, like Wolfenstein 3D era shooter.
Right. Yeah, well, and worth noting real quick that that this song, I think, is one of the few like new songs in the game by Seepage, because in the lore, and I'm sure we'll get more into this, but Zane did confirm over his Twitter account that the music from the game, he was able to get the permission from Mikey Psyche, the lead singer of Seepage. He got permission to use Seepage songs in the game, and in correspondence with Mikey Psyche, they also agreed to make new music for the game for him, and I think Break Me is one of those songs, and Break Me is essentially like the intro song of the game.
You know, I did follow Zane on Twitter back when that account first went up, and again, it was run by Jay Tholen, tweeting completely in character as if he were Zane. It was a very fun follow, but I didn't get that far in the weeds, so I was not aware of that lore tidbit, so that's good to know.
Well, and not only does he tweet in character, he also DMs in character. I have had DM correspondence with Zane in the past, specifically when the announcement was first made that Slayer's X was coming out at all. I DM'd him and I said, quote, "Hey Zane, is your game coming to Nintendo Switch?" And he responded, "We're gonna try our best, ... I think yes, like 99% sure, LOL." And then I just said, "Cool, thanks Zane." And he just said, "NP." Like he does like speak in character even over DM.
It's a good bit, and again, I always admire the dedication to a bit, and like when you take it to that extreme that you're even developing a game basically completely in character and having to make a game, like the sensibilities and the design of the game, making it a good video game, but also being completely in a character, like that must be extremely hard. Like that's, I don't know, that's like hard mode video game development to me, basically. Before we talk about Slayer's X, I just want to give a real quick reminder of what Bit HarMINI is. That is to say, it is a normal episode of Bit HarMINI, just stripped of all its pomp and frills. So this is basically we're just going to be talking about Slayer's X and music. There are no reviews to cover. We're not doing voicemails. We're not doing the Nintendo Music section, the YouTube comments, anything like that. It should be for us, relatively laser-focused episode of Bit HarMINI. Very committed to this being no longer than like an hour.
Totally.
I will use wrap-up music if we end up needing it. I don't think that'll be the case here. But just wanted to make that clear. If somehow this is your first time hearing this show, I don't know what the hell you're doing. You should go listen to some of the more full-featured episodes to get an idea of what we're all about here. And then come back to this one again. At least go listen to the Hypnospace episode first. I don't know what you're doing. Anyway, are we ready to talk about Slayer's X, Terminal Aftermath, Vengeance of the Slayer?
Let's get into it.
One more time, I'm going to say the full title. Slayer's X, Terminal Aftermath, Vengeance of the Slayer. Also worth noting that Vengeance is purposely misspelled. I recently saw Jay Tholen on Blue Sky, like, making fun of, like, a Steam review or something. Maybe it was, like, someone in the Discord that was like, "Hey, I think you guys missed some, like, typos here." And they were like, "Yeah, I basically guarantee you that any typos are on purpose." And the person was like, "No, I think these ones were not on purpose." It's like, okay, dude. Like,
all right, I guess.
it's a very well observed typo in the title of the game. So perfect. That's where a lot of for me, that's where good humor is. It's in like the cracks of the thing. It's not beating you over the head with it. It's like, yeah, there's a typo literally in the title of the game. I think that's extremely good. This is, as said before, a first-person shooter modeled after like late 90s shooters of the era, boomer shooters as they're called nowadays. This was released for PC and Xbox One and Xbox Series in 2023. Later came to Switch, PS4, and PS5 in 2024. This was developed by Tendershoot, that was the development team of Hypnospace Outlaw, here known as Big Z Studios Inc. For the sake of the bit, again, we love the commitment to the bit
really
here.
Good.
Yeah. This is a spin-off / sorta sequel to Hypnospace Outlaw. The main conceit is that it is a game. I didn't realize this. I didn't finish my playthrough of Slayer's X this time. We'll talk about it in a little bit when we get past this. I'm just not that big into shooters. And I'll be honest, I was getting kind of overwhelmed with some of the level design.
Sure.
which I think is on purpose. That's not me trying to say, like, it's not me knocking it, because I think this is exactly what it's trying to be on purpose. It just, it became a hassle for me to play, despite the fact that I really liked everything about what it was doing. But yeah, this is a game made by Zane Lofton, though I didn't realize until this most recent chunk of me playing that actually he didn't really do it, right? It was like he got his friend to like code and like mod. What's the name of the game they were modding? I forget what it was called.
It's like Kataklysm, I think,
with
is
a
the
K.
name of the game.
Yeah,
Kataklysm. With a K. Yeah.
So I didn't realize that Zane didn't even make the game. He was just kind of like the producer of it. But yeah, Zane Lofton is a fan favorite, probably the fan favorite character of Hypnospace Outlaw.
So.
Yeah. He's probably the one that made the biggest impact on me the first time I played it. Again, we talked about him pretty extensively, or not super extensively. We'll talk about him more extensively in this episode, but talked about him a bit on the Hypnospace Outlaw episode. Basically like a 15-year-old goofy goober teenager. I shouldn't say goofy goober because I think he takes himself very seriously, but that you can kind of take as a goofy goober when you are viewing him as a character in a video game. Again, this is a first-person shooter meant to evoke the feel of shooters like Duke Nukem and Wolfenstein and all that. Zane himself is also the main character, which is very good.
Yeah.
And the environments are based off of his real life. Like you go to like the like, what is it, like the laundromat or something. There's like a convenience store. That ended up being my favorite part of the game. You know, this was if you weren't around back in the late 90s, you know, I didn't play many shooters back then, but I was still aware of like teenagers were making mods of shooters back then to look like real areas. Like oftentimes like high schools, like, oh, we'd have a modded Counter-Strike map that's laid out like our high school. Like imagining
like a mall.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes sense, right? Because like it was so cool, the idea of seeing a space that you're familiar with in real life represented in a game, and then you're having like shootouts in there. Obviously, that leads to some problematic things. We don't need to get super into it here, but you know, with school shootings, I don't want to say being popularized, but kind of they were in the 90s. That led to some weird stuff with like litigation and everything, and yeah, like I said, we don't need to get super into it. Just be aware that, like, yeah, we are aware of how problematic that can come across and everything. But again, the fact that this is supposed to be based off of his real life, again, just ends up being such a well-observed examination of like human and teenage behavior back in the 90s with like video games and stuff. We'll talk about it like when we get out of the generalities, but it really feels like you're getting an actual peek into Zane's psyche in so many ways, and like in a depressing way, but also like a funny way. Because again, he's a fictional character, so you don't have to feel too bad. But but Zane's life seems pretty bad all around.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of the last thing I really had to say about the generalities with it. It just, it's not all just a big goof, much like Hypnospace. There is like a lot of heart here, though I think unlike Hypnospace, like what sold me on Hypnospace wasn't that it was goofy. Like I could tell it was going to be like a little goofy, but it was pretty sincere. Not that this game isn't sincere, but it's hidden beneath more layers of parody, if that makes sense.
For sure. Yeah, this is so, I mean, just the character of Zane in general. I mean, the game is called Slayers X Terminal Aftermath Vengeance of the Slayer. Like even the title is layered. I mean, even the, just that whole veneer of the character that Zane is, the whole setup of it. Like even when you boot up the game and it's like, when I was 16, I was developing this video, and it was lost forever, or was it, and it's got that whole goofy thing. And, there's like a lot of like poop and fart jokes in the game, and like poop monsters in the sewers and rats and stuff. And, but like, it's the kind of thing where, again, while there are, I think, more layers, and I think that somebody could play this and kind of just consume it as a silly, over the top, like a nostalgic, self-aware boomer shooter or whatever. If you dig a little bit deeper, there is quite a lot more underneath the surface, and we'll definitely kind of get into the weeds on that. There's a lot I want to talk about there, but It's also just, I think, one of the things that I appreciate the most about the game and the way that it's made. You kind of mentioned it, like the environments are so evocative of specifically growing up, like in the Midwest. Like this is set in like Boise, you know, and just it definitely has that kind of like small town Midwest kind of vibe. There's like a potato festival, you know, like all of this dumb stuff. And yeah, going to like the laundromat and the dollar store and stuff like this. And, you know, there it definitely like has that kind of feel of like, I remember there's a Counter-Strike map that somebody made where it takes place inside of like a Walmart. And so you just see like the person clearly just went to Walmart and took pictures of like the clothing racks and like copy pasted the flat texture on like some just rough geometry. And I don't know, like there's something about that, like the way that the trees look in this game and, you know, little details. Like the game is shockingly well detailed. Like the little bags of chips that you can like find, and if you shoot them, little chips fly out, and the little, you know, burger health pickups and the soda machines that you can like, you know, crack open and like actual little Grey Peaks colas are inside. And I don't know, man, like it's the kind of game that like you can tell a lot of like love and attention to detail went into, and actually like cool and interesting game design decisions, even removed from everything else. Like I really feel like Jay Tholen has this design sensibility of like, it's not enough to make something that feels like parody for the sake of it, that is even a send-up for the sake of it. Like it also has to be a genuinely good, like one of these things, like that felt important to him, and you can kind of tell when playing it.
Yeah, we briefly talked about this game's soundtrack and the game itself on the mid-year checkpoint 2024 soundtracks of the year episode. But yeah, one of the guns you get in the game is like a glass shotgun. It uses glass shards as the ammunition, and you can break like any glass surface in the game, and that refills your ammo. That alone is so damn cool to me, as someone that, you know, I get annoyed with shooters in a lot of ways, and like how, I don't know, how do I want to explain this? How contrived a lot of the setup is. You know, it's a lot of like looking for keys, like you just find ammo boxes sitting on the ground and stuff. So like even such a small thing of like, yeah, I could just whack this glass with my S blade, and then that makes more glass ammo for me. Extremely, like that's a genuinely incredible game design element, especially because shooters like this, they're just full of windows. That's just, for whatever reason, that's just like a normal thing in games like these. So the fact that they're all destructible and they all give you glass ammo is pretty cool. And of course, they call them glass shards, so they get to accompany that great game design with another poop joke is pretty good and worth it. In terms of like cool little details, we mentioned on the Hypnospace episode that one of the examples of that universe being slightly different than our universe is that tennis is Trennis in the Hypnospace universe, which I don't remember all the details, but mostly the biggest detail is that the court is different. Right. And then in the backyard, in like the third or fourth level of Slayers X, there is like a Trennis court back there. And I didn't even notice at first, because like you see they have like a tennis ball machine, like the thing that automatically launches a tennis ball at you so you can practice your swing. And I saw the Trennis ball machine. I didn't even really think about it. But then when I looked at the ground, I'm like, oh, this is a Trennis court, not a tennis court. Like that feels like it would, in most other games, they wouldn't have remembered Trennis. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that is the kind of like level of dedication to the bit and love for the bit that this game has on display at all times.
I mean, and you know, and in most games too, like that glass shard or glass shart shotgun that you're talking about. First of all, it's called the Glass Blaster, which is an amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Considering what it does, but like shooters don't typically have like any sort of real feedback loop a lot of the time. Shooters don't. A lot of shooters that you play are just, I have a gun, and like this is the gun that will kill the enemies the easiest, and I pick up ammo, and that's about it. They don't often have something that makes you like contextualize the environment around you in a different way. It's genuinely very smart. And another cool thing that this game does for those with eyes to see, if you spend enough time, even in the first level, I'm pretty sure you can get almost every weapon in the game just in the first level.
Oh, that's cool.
Like there's all kinds of just secrets and like rewards for like really, I think the game has like 8 or 9 levels or something like that, and they're all like very detailed, and there's a lot of layers and little secrets to find, which was true of stuff like, you know, Doom and Quake and Wolfenstein and Duke Nukem as well. But this game's just, again, attention to detail is truly insane. A good example to me of just like everything this game is in the very first level when you, in fact, when you get the glass blaster, you're in this like dump yard, this kind of like junkyard kind of area. And if you take the time to explore, like not only is that where you're introduced to this entire concept of this unique like shotgun, and there's plenty of just like the, you know, old dilapidated like window panes that you can like blow up and get ammo for your new gun and stuff. But if you explore enough, there's like a little like management like trailer off to the side of the junkyard where it's like that's where his uncle Frank, who passed away, used to like work and operated Uncle Frank's Big Dump, which is the name of the junkyard, which is silly and funny, right? Because it's like a bit like a big butt joke about my Uncle Frank. But also there's like a very like heartfelt note inside of there that Zane left in tribute to his Uncle Frank, saying like, you know, miss you, loser. I promised you I'd put you in the game if it ever came out, and here it is, like that kind of thing. And it's stuff like that like the average player is probably never going to find. And it's, again, very similar to Hypnospace, just in a different, you know, kind of game design and a different kind of genre altogether. But if you do dig deep enough, like there's a ton of examples like that of just these genuinely really heartfelt and sad. Like it got me like emotional thinking of like what his relationship must have been like with his Uncle Frank, and like how he put that in the game, you know. And to me that's, and this is just like a vertical slice of maybe like 5% of the first level of the game. And that's kind of what I mean. Like just that little moment is like everything this game is to me. And while it does have plenty of the sort of bombast and even the design annoyances of this genre, it really, I think, understands like the humanity at the core of everything it is. And that stuff is really special to me.
It's really cool, all the little details. Like this really is, other people call this a sequel to Hypnospace, which like I kind of balked at it first, but then like I still consider it more of a spin-off, but it really could be viewed as like a sequel that is exploring Zane specifically.
Right.
Like you really learn a lot about him, even though, yeah, most of it you have to dig a little for, and yeah, find these secrets or pay attention to the environment. And I just think that's really cool. I love it when games do spin-offs or follow-ups that are just completely different genres than the original game. You know, I just get a huge kick out of that. So the fact that, you know, when they announced this, I was like, oh, that is just neat. That really rose up my neat meter when they announced this back, was that 2022, I think. And yeah, I will say when it comes to the secrets, like they're very well hidden. And to be fair, like I do remember playing Doom, and those secrets are also very well hidden. So yeah, it is accurate to games of the time. But yeah, I think in the 4th level, I spent like nearly an hour in there. I think that's the only level I played that I found all the secrets in, because some of them are deviously hidden. Some of them are genuinely, like when you're in the computer world, which is the 5th level.
Yeah,
I found like when you go into this one room, it kind of looks like outer space. But if you look closely, you can see like some of the background is shifting weird. And if you go to this one spot, you can kind of get behind the wall, and that just leads you to this teleporter that takes you to this whole secret area. That it was just super cool. I love stuff like that. That's like what I really like about shooters of this era, is the secret discovery. It's just, yeah, like I said before, I didn't grow up playing games like this. some of the level design I kind of balk at, especially without like a map and stuff. I just get so easily lost.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the game. The first person game I spent the most time with of this era was probably just the stupid first person levels in Toy Story on Super Nintendo.
Okay, yeah.
And those were also very easy to get lost in for me because it's just you're just going like forward and turning and stuff. So I never developed that like gamer language of learning how to navigate these kinds of spaces super well. I got super lost in that computer world, and I just had to turn the game off at that point. But to be clear, I was very much enjoying my time with it up to that point. If I didn't uninstall it, so like I will probably go back to it and try and press forward more because I do really like what's here. The shooter mechanics, like we mentioned before, are genuinely good. The game feels good to play. Like it's genuinely a good one of these. So when we're talking about like the fact that it's a spin-off that's kind of an homage and it's goofy and there's all these poop jokes, don't take it as it's a full-on joke. Like it is genuinely a good game in its own right. You just also get like all these goofy like story setups and quips of psychos and whatever. You know, we talked about before, but like the S blade has a hack blood charge is such a good line that it only makes sense if you have the context for this game. I was playing this on my Switch and handheld next to my wife, and in that computer world, your hack blood recharges much faster because you only have access to your hack blood powers. And so Zane was constantly saying, the S-Blade has a hack blood charge. My wife was like, what is like, she was mad. She's like, why does he keep saying that? What's wrong with him? But yeah, again, it's just very well observed humor from games at the time. There's a lot of like voice acting and one-off clips like that. I'll just quickly say, I think my favorite line in the game was something like, you smell like a toilet. Or you did until I killed you. Like that's that's just really damn good.
Oh man, I love how like one of my favorite things about Zane just in general is like how like the game is just this like hyper violent, hyper gory, covered in poop and blood and guts. But like he draws the line at swearing. Like he won't like he won't swear. He's like, you eat turds for breakfast, you know, I'm gonna kick you in the nards, you know, like stuff like that. Yeah, you mother flipping turd pile, you know, like, so stuff like that. I love that. And you know, also like in the lore of the game, you know, this is years and years after the events of Hypnospace, so he is designing it and like speaking this way in like his 30s. Right. You know what I mean? And that's funny to consider. The S-Blade is a truly incredible weapon because this is a blade made out of the S from the seepage logo that then is powered by this mysterious hack blood energy, which is essentially just like the green numbers from like the Matrix, right? That that effectively power up Zane, and yeah, whenever it has a full hack blood charge, Zane says the S-Blade has a hack blood charge, and you can use it to shoot like projectiles, which is cool because like it's nice to have like a little bit of an additional twist or again feedback loop on your standard like when you run out of ammo weapon. Which is good. And then, yeah, you mentioned the story setup. Like this, the game's story setup is funny. It opens with Zane training with Mikey Psyche, who is his mentor, and again, the lead singer of Seepage in Universe. And there's a news report that announces that the Psychos blew up Zane in his mom's apartment, which is troubling at first, but then and then they find out that the Psychos also blew up Zane's mom's car when she was driving home, and so Zane says, quote, I must revenge her. And so that's how that's how our twisted tale begins.
Yeah, I love revenge her. It makes me think of like Metal Gear Solid Rising Revengeance. I love using revenge in weird morphed ways. That said, did we want to say anything else about it as a game, or do we want to take our break and come back and talk about Zane?
Yeah, there's a lot of what I want to talk about is about Zane himself. I guess the only other thing that I'll quickly just sort of celebrate when it comes to the actual game is the UI is just this kind of like overdone, like taking up probably 25% of the screen. Like it's the kind of UI that would never exist in modern game design. Just like big, like kind of stupid UI elements that are just kind of like jutting out onto the screen. Of course, you've got Zane's little face, very like Wolfenstein, Zane's little face there that gets more bloodied as he takes more damage and stuff, and does move as he talks to you and stuff like that. I also want to appreciate anybody who plays the game. You unlock a couple of bonus levels after completing the game, and don't write those off. Even though they are just silly little, like, mostly unfinished bonus levels, there's a lot of good lore in there, and we'll get into that in a little bit after the break, I guess.
I'll just say I love the disembodied head at the bottom of the screen. Like even in the games that this is inspired by, I love it. Yeah, in like Doom and Wolfenstein and stuff, I love the disembodied head that gets more damaged as you go on. Such a cool detail. They could bring that back. They should bring that back. I want that in like Call of Duty. You just see a head that gets like messed up as it goes on.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, pretty good. Anyway, let's go on our soul break for this episode. We've got Nothing Left for Me and Psycho Weather. Nothing Left for Me, again, composed by Seepage / Queenjazz, and Psycho Weather, composed by Linda's Electronic Orchestra. And we'll be back.
When it feels like there's something, but we'll let go, grab the test, the best of all, and I'm calling it all down on the system. Won't let you down, this or what through this town. I'm Cyber and Cypher. Deck stack like the best of them. Last right like the rest of them. Keep me in your graveyard. Deep in the dead. To the shores of hell. Was Nothing Left for Me and Psycho Weather, both from Slayer's X. Like I said before, I don't have that many notes for any of these songs because, like, for one, it is just well observed
homages to this type of music. Obviously, Nothing Left for Me is notable for being Zane's Hypnospace page in Hypnospace Outlaw, the music that plays on that page. I'll also say that after replaying Hypnospace for that episode, this was the song that was like most stuck in my head for a week after. So then we kind of had to have it in here also. I will say, in terms of like it being a song that is kind of, again, being a send up of songs of the 90s and whatever, I do like the little like almost rap line delivery near the beginning. That is such a thing back then, of like mixing, we're gonna have like hard rap lyrics in here near the start of a song like this, but then the rest of it is just typical nu metal stuff. I just really like that a lot.
Yeah, I mean that sort of, I mean that's another very Linkin Park thing too, when like Mike Shinoda would one thing, I don't know why, it doesn't even matter how hard you try. It's like that total vibe, right? Like they just stick that in there with all of that. There's a line in Nothing Left for Me that says you want to feel what it feels when it feels like there's something. and that's just, it's very good because like it's like the most stupid and messy like sentence maybe ever written, but it also kind of like, if you really sit there and like think about it, you can kind of pick up what it's putting down a little bit. When it feels like there's something, you do kind of feel it.
Yeah, no, I feel like I would have heard my friend listening to this on his like Bose stereo back in 2001 and been like, all right, like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, why not? Well, and this is also, I mean, we should say, this is one of the seepage songs that does come from Hypnospace Outlaw. In particular, this is the song that plays when you visit Zane's page. The Against the Wall is also buried in there, but you have to like go to, I think you can find it on like his like Game or Lame pages or whatever, where he would essentially just use that to like roast and troll the other people on Hypnospace. I think you can find Against the Wall that way, but Nothing Left for Me is specifically what plays when you go to his page. So this is presumably most people's first introduction to seepage, when you first go to Zane's page. And it feels like something about the intro of Nothing Left for Me does feel like a great like welcome to my page kind of song. You would have heard this on like MySpace if this existed in the real world back then. Yeah, absolutely. Or like remember when like you could have custom like AIM sounds, like AOL Instant Messenger sounds when you logged in and stuff. I could totally hear the first like 3 seconds of this song being yeah. Absolutely. Like it feels like a wrestling intro or something, I love that stuff. Yeah. Well, and I also wanted to make sure that that you saw, I know that you're a big Weather Channel music fan, so I wanted to make sure that you were made aware of Psyko Weather.
Yeah, I mean the only notes I have for this is this absolutely rules. It's just like a Muzak version of Against the Wall. Like it, I loved this. This was awesome. Where does this play in the game?
I think that there's a couple of moments in the game where you can kind of go into like the Psyko layers or whatever, and you get.
I love the idea that the Psyko layers have music like this playing.
Yeah, because they have like TVs and stuff like that, and I think you can like turn on one of the TVs and there's like a Psyko weather report, kind of thing, and like the Psychos are on the news and stuff. There's even in the first level. It's funny because there's like, it's either in the first or second level, there's like these Psychos that are off the beaten path in a little like camp, like in tents, and the Psychos don't like speak to you, but there's a little note on the floor that says like we want to run away, we're detractors, like we're like like Psycho defectors, don't shoot us, but if one of the thing the game grades you on at the end of every level is enemies killed, and you do have to kill those guys in order to get that. So That's kind of funny too. But yeah, there are a couple of moments where you'll kind of like see what the lifestyle of the Psychos is, and I think that's where you can hear this.
It's good. They have, I don't know, just more calm music playing than I would have expected out of a name of, like, coming from like a named group like the Psychos, you know, like, yeah, we just got pleasant little music playing in our layers like this.
Dude, I love that major key against the wall melody. Like when you know what the main song is, like it hits so much harder. You're just like, oh my god, I can't believe they just did that. You know, very good.
Again, very well observed, because like I had MIDI versions of like all kinds of popular songs saved on my computer back in like 2001. So the fact that there is like this kind of version of Against the Wall in the game is also, yeah, again, just extremely well observed. Very, very heavy attention to detail here, even in the music, or I should say, like, especially in the music. Just really cool stuff all around. I didn't know how this episode would even end up being in terms of like the music, because like in my head there's only like two things I think of when I think of Zane music wise. So like the fact that you dug this out, I was very pleased with this. Yeah, it's a great one. This definitely went on to like my personal video game music playlist, like, because in a way that I can't really listen to Against the Wall seriously on my own. I can listen to this and have a good time with it, regardless of context. So for this last section of the show, we're going to talk about like Zane and lore notes and stuff. So Seth, please have at it.
Yeah, so, well, I guess, I don't know if we should, like, give a spoiler warning or something. I don't know. Whatever. Who cares, I guess.
Hey, you've been warned. Just turn it off now if you don't want spoilers for Slayers or Hypnospace at this point.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, it's weird to call them spoilers because like we're talking mostly about like the psyche of the person and kind of what is here to peel back those layers. But it kind of gets into what you were kind of talking about, like because of the nature of these games. This is another thing that I think is just so smart and well observed about this game. Like this game knows that in this genre that it's trying to evoke, these like big open levels, very detailed, very easy to get lost, right? Like the experience that you say, like you're like, man, like I got totally lost and it's frustrating. Like the game knows that. Mm-hmm. And that's very true of like this style of game that it's trying to replicate. And so one of the really cool things music-wise that it does, first of all, is when there aren't enemies on screen, like once you get into that moment, right, that everybody's going to have playing games like these where you've killed all the enemies, you're wandering around, where the hell is this key? Like, where's the door that I have to use the key on? This game takes the soundtrack and makes a kind of like quiet background, like ambient mix of the soundtrack, and this is true of every song that plays in the game. All of them have like an ambient X mix version that kind of will quietly play in those moments, and it becomes something like weird and contemplative in these moments where you kind of just get to quietly explore these areas that you come to realize it's like, oh, like these aren't just levels of a video game. Like this is stuff from Zane's real life that he's put in the game. And in fact, and this is way more prevalent in the bonus levels that unlock after you complete the game, but Zane will like talk to the player about that stuff. Like in one of the bonus levels, you go to like the Boise like DOH, and he talks about how like he used to like going there as a kid because like the lady that worked there would always give him stickers and stuff. And he talks about when you go to the Sloppo's burger place or whatever, there are like rats all throughout the game, and you can get the rats to like help you if you feed them like a hidden piece of cheese and stuff. But like Zane talks about how when he was a kid, he used to get extra like Sloppo dogs to like feed to the rats behind the restaurant because he related to them, in a way. And I don't know, man, like there's something about how like actually expressive and like raw and honest this is. And a lot of the stuff that you can kind of find in the game, it ends up feeling like, to me, an extension of like Zane's Hypnospace page or something. Like this is almost like that same idea of like, you know, now that Hypnospace is gone, like how else am I going to express myself? And so he's done it with this game. How else am I going to preserve this stuff that I hold dear? And, you know, it kind of operates on the cross section of something that we've talked about on various episodes of Bit Harmony, but this kind of cross section of nostalgia and when nostalgia can become dangerous, when it can be the kind of thing that you can get lost in, the kind of thing that like doesn't allow you to move on with the current status quo of your life. You know, Zane has a kid. Like it's revealed in this game that Zane is like in his 30s, is like the manager of like the dollar store, which he, first of all, the main antagonist of this game, Mevin.
Mevin is an incredible name.
His name is Mevin because the dollar store manager that he worked at the Dollar Shaver or whatever was named Kevin. And Kevin ended up like passing away, I think, and Zane ended up becoming the manager just basically by default after Kevin passed away. And so he's like a dollar store general manager in his 30s with a kid, but yet he's still stuck in the past, obsessed with seepage and making this game. And it even kind of like recontextualizes the way you look at him with like a modern Twitter account. Like dude, like you got to grow up like at a certain point, you know? And it's sad to see because, I don't know, like it kind of even makes you think about, and I picked this up when I was replaying pieces of the game, you know, in the second level, because in the first level, it opens up like in that training dojo with Mikey Psyche. By the way, Mikey Psyche like is presumed dead at the beginning of the game and like reveals to Zane, or is about to reveal, that he's his dad, which is really funny. But you're essentially like fighting your way back to Zane's apartment that has been destroyed by the Psychos, and they've like pooped all over it. And like there's like literally like big piles of poop all over. You can find Zane's mom's bedroom, which is really like sad and sweet because it's rendered so like lifelike. Apparently his mom loved penguins. Like there's like little penguin dolls everywhere and stuff. And anyway, in the second level, it opens up like within the apartment in Zane's room. And in order to progress, you have to go into like the hidden layer in Zane's closet. And it really struck me on this playthrough. I didn't really pick this up, and it's the kind of thing that like thinking about the game in this way made me realize. But on his like door to his closet, it says like no going back. You know, not like do not enter or like no turning back. It's no going back. And in a way, like that kind of hit me like a ton of bricks reading that, because it to me like was almost an expression of Zane of like he knows that there's no going back, like to this what he considers the peak of his life. He thinks that he peaked in high school on Hypnospace being this version of himself, and he knows that there's no going back. So the best he can do is make this video game that kind of represents all of that stuff for him. I sent you probably the biggest secret in the game. And I sent you a video of it because I wanted to make sure that you saw it before we recorded. There's a little area in, I think, like the third or fourth level of the game or something like that, where if you fall in a specific place, the fall won't kill you. Like there's a lot of like little cracks in the ground from the explosions of the Psychos and whatever. And most of the time, if you fall in them, it's like a death. But in this one, you can fall in this specific spot and it won't kill you. In fact, it's a little like crack in the geometry where there's like this floating text that is from Adam Chase, the old high school friend of Zane's that he essentially forced to complete this like dumb Kataklysm mod that they started together when they were 16. And Adam's frustrated that Zane's like forcing him to finish this, so he kind of hid this little section in the game where he talks about like, you know, like never promise to help a high school friend that you'll finish the stupid Kataklysm mod you started together at 16. He will not forget, and you'll regret it. This guy is delusional, but he has a kid and really thinks this game is his ticket out of being a deadbeat dollar store manager. So I pretty much have to help him now. You know, like he kind of expresses all this frustration, and then like there's this kind of final little corridor where it says like, here it is, the moment you've been waiting for, like the real X-Slayer, and it's a picture of like Zane in the modern day in his 30s standing in front of a seepage poster that he still has, wearing like camo shorts and like Birkenstocks.
The camo shorts were I lost it at the camo shorts. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and it just like, you know, like he's overweight, he looks kind of schlubby and stuff, and it just like, it really kind of hits you in that moment. Like his kid's like Tonka truck is like right next to him and stuff, it just really makes like when you see that picture, you're like, oh Jesus, man, like it's like, it makes you sad that like he's got all of this going on in his real life and stuff, and he really feels like this is all he has left, you know, and I don't know, it makes me think about how like you can't, like there is no going back, you know, and there's nothing wrong with like loving and embracing the stuff that you loved when you were a kid, or, you know, we even talked in the Hypnospace Outlaw episode how I really feel like part of growing up is learning to embrace and love the past versions of yourself, but you can't stay there. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's I think a major theme of this game, and I think it is so brilliant to tell a story like that through a genre that is also all about nostalgia and in some ways has not really moved on, you know?
Right. And also the fact that, like, because again, Slayer's X is telling its own story about this fictionalized version of Zane fighting the psychos and whatever. But yeah, the friend that was forced into developing this game snuck in his own little, basically like a practical joke, like, hey, here's this loser. And then, but you as a player of the video game in the real world get to see it as an update on Zane that you know from Hypnospace or whatever. Like the layers there are extensive and wild. And when you sent me that, I'd never seen it before. I'd never really like gone and browsed like the Hypnospace wiki or whatever. So I didn't know that there was any kind of like, I didn't know that there was anything that big and substantial of an update on Zane. What's really cool to me, and I forgot to mention this on the Hypnospace episode, but one of the reasons the Cool Fest section of Hypnospace is one of my favorite parts of the game is because it provides this rare glimpse into the actual world. Like you can actually see video footage and stuff as opposed to just seeing the world through the internet, basically. And so that's kind of the same feeling I got from seeing this picture of Zane. But yeah, an even sadder feeling because it's 20 something years later and this is what's going on and stuff. And it's interesting because we talked about it on the Hypnospace episode as well, but it feels like the game is wanting you, like you see Zane's page and you're supposed to laugh and think he's like a loser kid or whatever. And to a certain degree, maybe, but should you be laughing at him when it's just a teenager kind of thing? Right. And then, you see what happened to him 20 years later. And like, it's easy to laugh at Zane as a character, the way he's all presented and whatever. And like, again, the Twitter account and stuff. But then, when you're confronted with the reality of what he actually is behind the screen, it's very, I can't think of the right word. I was about to say chilling, but that's like that's too strong of a word. It's very like it sets you back a few steps, and like I don't want to laugh anymore because like I know people like this. I worked with this guy kind of when I worked at a distribution center. I worked in an office in there, but there was a person out front, like the one of the security gate people, and he always would stay way after his shift ended. And one time I asked, I was like, why does he stay? What's he doing? And they're like, he has 4 kids and his wife doesn't like him and he's not allowed to look at his phone when he's at home. So he just stays in the guard shack for like an extra hour every day. just to like browse YouTube and stuff and not go home to his
Yeah.
family. Like that's what Zane is, and like that made everything snap into place for me in real life with that person, because I didn't really like that guy. Frankly, he's kind of a dick, but like that made me understand a lot more about like who he is and why he acted the way he did and stuff.
Right.
And yeah, it's the same thing with this lore reveal, as it were, of Zane in Slayer's X. Like it changes how I feel about everything when it comes to Zane. Even though it shouldn't really, like we should have had this sympathy for him before, but I didn't as much, you know, but until this reveal of like, oh yeah, he basically he never got to live out a happy life, basically. Like I don't know all the details between Hypnospace and Slayer's X in terms of what he was doing, but obviously it wasn't much. And yeah, it's just sad. Like it genuinely makes me feel bad, even though again, it's a fictional character.
Yeah, we should also say too, before we wrap up, there have been teases from both Zane himself, the trailer of the game, and the No More Robots, the publisher, like kind of Twitter, that there's potentially more content coming to this game. And there's a little tease of like evil Zane, which I think in universe is Enaz, just Zane backwards. And it seems like maybe there's some more content, but at the same time, they're in a really perfect spot with that, because even if it never comes, then it just looks like, oh, like here's like the, you know, the thing that Zane like promised he was going to do and then never got to do, you know, sort of thing. So I don't know, but like they're kind of hinting that maybe there's going to be more somewhere down the line. Who the hell knows? But
Right.
But I just think that this is all really a really fascinating lens to kind of consider, like the weight of nostalgia and the way that it can hold you back. And yeah, I really love the game for that, and I think it's an important message that a lot of people can take a lot away from.
Yeah, and though I would love to hear the opinion of someone that has never even heard of Hypnospace but played Slayer's X, I would love to know if any person exists in the world that consumed the game under that criteria and still liked it a lot. You know, I wonder how much of this, like how missable it is, because it's very missable from a gameplay standpoint. But even if you do find it, if you don't have the context of Hypnospace, does this hit the same? You know, yeah, it's very, very interesting. I can't imagine, like I said before, the idea of like trying to make a good video game in the modern age in 2023 when this came out, but the gimmick is that it's a throwback shooter, but it's developed under the guise of being from a character in a different universe. Like the fact that this game turned out as well as it did is kind of, to me, nothing short of a miracle.
Yeah.
I like I said in the Hypnospace episode, I would love to see more Hypnospace spin-offs that just tackle completely different genres and give you expanded lore on these other characters and stuff. Like I said before, Chowderman rhythm game would be sick. Also, Chowderman definitely would have been cashing in during like the Plastic Instrument Guitar Hero phase of the
1000%.
He would have been super happy with how that like genre came about and stuff. So yeah, I'm just saying, make a Hypnospace spinoff that comes with a plastic guitar and it's just Chowderman rhythm songs. I think that would be great.
Pretty sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that has been basically the episode. We do have our Patreon shoutouts and stuff to get to. Seth, if you want to handle those.
Yeah, sure. Let's go ahead and thank our patrons. We have links in the show notes to the Patreon if you want to support the show. We really appreciate it. Also, review the show really helps a lot too. This is a little bit of a weird one because like we're kind of putting this up on the main public feed as a bonus episode. Typically, HarMINIs will be behind the Patreon paywall, so the first hit's free. But if you want more little mini episodes like this when we make them, you're going to have to go over to the Patreon and pay up, loser.
And
you
we do
flipping turd pile.
we do have a couple other mini episodes planned in the future as well. So like there will be more of these. Yeah, just behind the paywall.
So if you like this, do consider supporting on Patreon. It really does help, and we always are looking for ways to add more value to the Patreon. And yeah, we have a lot of folks that support us over there. So we're gonna thank them right now before we wrap up. Thank you to our Triforce tier supporters: Adam Caparello, Bowza, Dan and Luma, Daniel Hinojosa, Foolish Fuji, John Cummins, Josh Vaughn, Ligerwoods 330, and of course Uncle Randy. And thank you to our Golden Banana tier supporters: Big Dogs Only, Bill Tucker, SAZ, Gamer Jason, Liam D, Marcus O'Neill, Phelan Ward, Presto the Magnificent, Rob Yapel, Shy Guy, thank you Shy Guy, Sean Ashton, and Sparky. And welcome back to the Don Rob at the 1-Up tier. Appreciate you for coming back over to the Patreon and checking us out. And yeah, everybody, you can also get a 7-day free trial to the Patreon as well, to the Golden Banana tier, which will get you all of the exclusive content for free for 7 days if you want to check it out. So yeah, we appreciate y'all for doing that. And is that it? Did we do it?
I think just about. I will shout out just real quick that if you want to send in voicemails, even though we don't cover them on the mini episodes, we do cover them on the main show. You can send in voicemails to either bitharmonypod@gmail.com, or if you want to dial that in on an actual real phone, you can do that by calling 216-230-8540. That number again is 216-230-8540. Of course, all that stuff is also always in the notes. Being that this was a mini episode, I wasn't even planning on doing any haikus, period. However, you did make 2 haikus for the Hypnospace episode, and I thought it would be funny. Not funny isn't the exact right word, but it would be appropriate to stick your second haiku in this episode.
Yeah, so at the end of the Hypnospace Outlaw episode, I did wind up writing 2 haikus, and I essentially asked Matt to choose between the goofy or the serious haiku. And he chose the goofy one for the main episode, and so the serious one is going to get stuck in this one as we close out. So here it goes. It was different. An ocean of expression surfing in slow waves. So
that's beautiful. I think that weirdly ends up kind of fitting more to the Slayers X episode anyway, even despite the fact that this game is more overtly goofy. But yeah, beneath the surface, there is like a lot more going on than you would expect. So I think I accidentally, without knowing anything, made the right choice on having you read the goofy one. Yeah, thank you. I needed that today. Anyway, that has been it for this first episode of the BitHarMINI mini series, I guess. I don't know how to phrase it. This is your first BitHarMINI. Closing us out is Against the Wall, composed by Seepage and Queenjazz. Join us, I don't know, like a week from now. We will be back with a normal episode of the show, normal full-length, double-stuffed cave story episode of BitHarMINI. Right. We hope to see you then. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Give me a sign, you can come collect my Bye.